After experiencing being bulky, skinny, and now being at a healthier body fat percentage but still being able to build muscle, I now realize how many mistakes I made when it came to my nutrition, and I want you guys to skip these mistakes. So this is my quick, no BS, no bullshit guide on how to stay lean, how to continue building muscle, to have that aesthetic look to yourself, and continue to make gains in the gym. Remember guys, if you do want to book a free 15-minute consultation with me, just click that link in the description. We can go over a custom game plan for you. I really want to get into it, no bullshit. So starting with protein sources. Cheap protein sources is tilapia, your tuna, sometimes sardines, cod. Usually whitefish is the cheapest, as well as something like chicken breast. However, if you're feeling fancy, I usually go with something like top sirloin steak, maybe a ribeye steak if I'm feeling like that, a little bit fattier. And what you notice whenever I'm naming what I eat for the most part, guys, is that doesn't really matter as long as you are eating not bullshit food. Like really, that's the only way that I really like to see it, is don't eat bullshit foods and you will have a leaner aesthetic physique after a while, right? And what I mean by this is non-processed foods. Like if there's a million ingredients in the ingredients tab, if you actually see the nutrition label on what you're purchasing, you'll notice that most foods nowadays, most things that you see in Walmart or your grocery store will have a million different ingredients, and that is not good for you, right? Because it has so many different ingredients, it just makes sense that it's going to be more calorie dense. You don't need extra calories. You only need unprocessed foods the way that your ancestors would eat. That's the best way for me to describe it. However, other protein sources: chicken breast, chicken thigh, ribeye steak, top sirloin steak, your shrimp, frozen, you can buy that, whatever. I usually get my protein sources on a day-to-day basis from something like powdered peanut butter, whey protein powder, chicken breast, shrimp sometimes, ribeye steak, or a top sirloin steak. Those are my go-to. And every single meal, almost every single meal, I always like to emphasize the protein. This is always going to give you the best results because either way, you have to hit your protein goal to build muscle. But on top of that, protein has the highest thermogenic effect of food, which if you don't know what that means, it just means that your body burns more calories digesting and absorbing protein as opposed to absorbing or digesting carbs or fats. Moving on to carb sources. Every single macronutrient is important, guys, and that's something that I learned from experience, right? After bulking for so long and realizing that it was so unnecessary to eat so many extra calories, I didn't really care so much about carbs or fats, but I now realize that it is true when they say that macronutrients determine your body composition, like, you know, the amount of fat and muscle that you have. Calories determine your actual body weight, and micronutrients determine how you feel, because quality of food does play a big role. And I'll explain to you guys as the video goes on why. But anyways, carb sources: white rice, sweet potato, regular potatoes, whole grain bread, not white bread, like I said. And I really want to emphasize that because just like anything else, you know, there's a lot of foods out there which they're the same food, but because of the way that they're made is what determines if it's a good food or not. For example, French fries, that comes from potatoes. It's a vegetable. However, because of the way that it's made, it makes it a horrible food. And by all means, guys, by no means am I trying to say that I eat 100% clean. I've stated in a lot of videos that I eat 10-20% trashed foods from time to time. However, if I'm being completely honest, I've gone to the point where I am very satisfied with my body fat percentage and I'm really just focused on building muscle, that after a while you don't even see the benefit in eating trash foods. Like you don't even enjoy them anymore. It's like, it's a weird thing to say, but your tongue just doesn't find the enjoyment in it anymore, especially once you abstain yourself from all of this bullshit food for so long. Like, you know, your Twinkies, candy, never really eat candy. Ice cream, if I'm gonna eat ice cream, it has to be something like protein ice cream or maybe some kind of Mexican paleta. It gets to a point where you learn to enjoy unprocessed foods like your eggs, that kind of thing. Also, eggs is another protein source that I also get most of my protein from. Carb sources, always. I'm going to explain when I eat and how I pretty much spread out, like, you know, nutrient timing throughout the day. However, I'm just explaining where I get them from. Fat sources: avocados and fish oils. That's all I eat, literally. A lot of people will say, oh, you can get it from goat butter or things like, you know, a bunch of other stuff. But in my opinion, right, those are the only two best protein or fat sources that I've found: salmon, fatty fish, or your avocado. Those are the only best fat sources which I have found, and I think they're also the cheapest. And when it comes to fats, it's also a good macronutrient. It helps with hormone production, helps to satiate you longer. It does have more calories per gram as opposed to protein and carbs, but each macronutrient plays a role. Now, how do I spread this out throughout the day? Well, I work out first thing in the morning. So regardless of what time you work out, you always want to eat a lot of carbs. Your meal should consist of mostly carbs before your workout as well as after. Well, after post-workout meal is a little bit different. But pre-workout meal, always, always, always the main macronutrient you should focus on is carbs. Because there's something that I never understood. Although yes, you can be fully recovered, you're not sore, and you had a good night's sleep, your ability to push hard in the gym is going to be highly significantly affected by the amount of carbs that you have in your system. And you will notice this the more experience that you get. On days that you don't eat carbs, you will pretty much get tired mid-workout and you won't be able to push as hard. And I used to think, well, if I recovered and I slept 8 hours, there's no reason why I shouldn't get the same results. But no, it doesn't work like that. Just because your muscles are fully recovered, those are not the only factors which determine how hard you can push in the gym. And that plays a big role when it comes to stimulating muscle growth. If you can push your muscles to the hardest, do that, optimize it, and you do that by eating a lot of carbs pre-workout, and that also helps with the pump as well. 100 to 200 grams of carbs pre-workout, whether that is white rice, whole grain bread, or a banana. Those are usually my main go-to sources. But yeah, I'll have that an hour before my workout as soon as I wake up. Second meal of the day after I get home from the gym, post-workout meal, I'll usually eat something like protein oatmeal. A lot of protein, a lot of carbs, and this is usually also when I have most of my fats, if I do have any fats for the day. I'll eat an avocado paired with either an egg sandwich, protein oats, sometimes it's chicken breast with white rice. I like to go plain. And what I've experienced is that I've gone through meal prepping. I've done this, I've done that, and what I've experienced is that the simpler that you can keep your meal plan, the easier, right? I used to always think that you have to really, really enjoy what you're eating. But as time goes on, guys, you just realize that food is just energy, right? And the simpler and faster that you can cook it up and still be healthy and, you know, continuously focus on the next thing, the better. Of course, you always want to optimize it so that it's healthy for you. And for some people, that works by meal prepping and always eating the same thing every single day. I feel like I could eat that. However, I prefer just being spontaneous, right? Whatever the best ingredients in my house I have, that's what I will use to prep my meal. But yeah, most of the time post-workout, I'll have either that, a protein oats, which is just oats, protein sludge, which is literally just whey protein with water, and then some frozen berries. It has a good amount of carbs, complex carbs specifically, and that's what I eat post-workout meal, because usually I'll eat that around 11 a.m. and I still need, you know, a good source of energy for the rest of the day. Complex carbs are really good for that, so that's where I place my oatmeal. And then of course, protein. Every single meal always has to have protein. Usually it's whey protein powder like that, whether it's in shake form or with a sludge, that's what I will eat. And for my third and final meal of the day, guys, once again, a lot of protein, not as many carbs because I'm going to bed in 2 to 3 hours after this meal. And this is where I have most of my fats. Fats timing is not really as important when it comes to protein and, well, in comparison to carbs. But it does play a role, right, guys? You still want to get your good amount of fats in, right? I don't think there's any diet out there that doesn't involve fats, like even ketogenic diet or carnivore diet. They all, maybe some of them exclude carbs, but fats is the one that is never, you know, taken out of the equation, and it's for a reason. 50 to 70 grams of carbs. This is the one that obviously most people eat less of because it has more calories per gram, but it plays a role. Eat your avocados, eat your salmon. Don't worry too much about the timing when it comes to this one. I do recommend maybe a little bit like in midday or maybe earlier in the day, because it also helps with energy expenditure. It allows your body to Pretty much slows down the release of energy throughout the day if you do eat carbs along with your meal. So obviously you want to have it a little bit earlier in the day, maybe in your second meal. However, I just have it in my third meal because my second and first one, they're really usually around my workout time, so I really want to optimize my carb intake. But yeah, it's really simple, guys. Don't overcomplicate it, just like everything else. The simpler that you can keep this, the better, because simple works, and it works because it's consistent. It's easier to stay consistent with something that is simple that you enjoy. Eat foods that you actually like, and teach your brain to like unprocessed foods. It gets to the point after a while. In the beginning, it's always going to be hard to make these changes, right? Like I said, I usually never eat anything processed, like cinnamon rolls, your candy, even sodas. I only eat diet drinks because, I mean, who cares about aspartame? You need to literally drink 10 cans plus of soda to have any kind of negative side effect. So use whatever works that actually will give you the best results without any negative side effects. And that is how you stay lean and aesthetic year round. Hit your calorie goals, hit your protein goals, and that is very custom to you. So if you want to figure that out, once again, book that free 15-minute call with me. We can figure it out, see if I can help you out, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Also, there's a few other videos that you can check out about nutrition timing, pre-workout meals, post-workout meals, if you want to learn more about that.